Dans all the time. This is the Dan Time Podcast with your host, Dan McArthur.
Hey, thanks for being here. Thank you for listening to the Dan Time Podcast. It is the end of April, and it dawned on me that, you know what, I got to get something out here. I have been, as you know, living my life outside of Dan Time. I hope you guys enjoyed the Dan Bankhead episode with Roy Costello from Sabre. That was quite an enjoyable project on my end, and I hope to continue the story. We'll see how things develop over the next few weeks and months. But even though you haven't seen new episodes, certainly not weekly, I don't know if we'll get back to that schedule. I don't want to say ever, but not anytime soon. But for those of you who are relatively new to the show, go back and just scroll through 2024, 2023, and find some of the old episodes. You might see a name that you recognize. You might see a topic or a type of guest that looks interesting to you. So just have at it and catch up on all those. And once you've made it all the way through to episode 108 or 9, then start blowing me up and say, hey, let's get some new material, Dan. I can't keep replaying these episodes. Get me some new content. Well, I've been really happy to launch a new Substack page. For those of you who are on Substack, have heard about it, or like me, going back a few months ago, you heard people talk about it, but you didn't really know what it was. About 20 years ago, I can't believe it's been that long, I worked for a major daily newspaper, and at that time, I thought that that's the path that I wanted to pursue. I wanted to write, and I wanted to cover sports. And the time in between, I've done a little bit of writing here, a little bit of writing there, and just really haven't devoted a lot of time to it. But I'm trying to kickstart it a little bit, so bear with me. If you've read any of this stuff over here on Substack, which is real easy to find, dantime.substack.com, I'm just trying to shake off the cobwebs here. If you like it, that's great. A lot of this really and truly is, I don't want to say it's not for you, but it's kind of for me. It's just an outlet without being able to put quite as much time into the podcast production. One thing I can do is open up the laptop and just start writing. So I've got some stuff out there. Subscribe if you like. It's free. You can actually find all the old episodes in one place on that Substack page. And then I've got a story related to a recent trip back to Birmingham, the Driving and Crying concert a few weeks ago in Pensacola. I just reviewed it because I wanted to, and I was there, and I took down the set list. And then another couple articles on the constant arrival or return of the end of the night, the 9 o'clock, the 10 o'clock, the 11 o'clock hour, in the places wherever your body lands in your house, if you're usually at home, whether that's the couch, your bed, your toilet for an extended period of time, long after you've done your business, but you're just still sitting there. I hope not all of you do that, but maybe sometimes you just linger. Or wherever you are in your house, you're always right back to it, no matter what the day, how it played out. And then yesterday I posted an article. This one I would appreciate if you just don't really take a look at it. I'm fine if only 7 people ever see it. Basically just ripping apart the Dollar General greeting card section. And speaking of Dollar General, I haven't talked about it a lot on the show lately. But if you've been listening, I take jabs at them sometimes. I think they can take it. I think they can handle it. And I'm quite positive that they are not aware of any of the criticism that I've lobbed at them. But if you have one in your hometown, and you go in there by choice or because your spouse, your partner sends you up there at 8 o'clock at night to go get something that somebody's out of, and let's face it, they're every 2.5 miles apart from each other. So they're almost always going to be closer than the grocery store. Anyway, there's some pages on Instagram that do a really good, really funny spoof on Dollar General and the whole experience. But I've noticed they still, and I don't know that they ever will, they've still not figured out what in the hell to do with these self-checkout stations. And I would love to have a higher up from the organization on the podcast to just explain to me, reveal the calamitous realization, what was going on at Dollar General World Headquarters when they realized this ain't going to work. This is not happening. We have to shut these down immediately. And we just rolled them out to the tune of something million dollars. You have to imagine. Was not well planned, not well executed, and unless you got a different story to share with me, these are typically just defunct checkout stations with the sign up that signals that don't come here. When you get to the front of the line, that's not an option. Go over here to the first one nearest the door. Dollar General, I'm in there more than I like to be. And I've bought more throwaway, just garbage toys for the kids that they're excited about for about an afternoon and a half. But it works. You know what? It works in a pinch. And they do have some of the pet food and pet needs items, the health and beauty supplies. They usually they're going to have the deodorant that you use, the shampoo that you use. You need something for your car until you can get something better. Or you need an air freshener. The place is so jammed. I mean, I've never seen so many items just packed into one store. And you just look at, you're standing in line and you're looking around. There's so much overstock, so much candy. And it's like it's just by design supposed to be packed like a hoarder's nest. But everywhere that you can outstretch your arms and possibly grab something, they'd like for you to do it. They'd love for you to just add a few more things. So I guess they're just, it looks that way because they want for it to look that way. I always like just the kind of gritty shuffle that your feet make through the store. I'm sure the floors are clean. It's just the surface of that flooring kind of creates a little sandy, gritty kind of shuffle. I wrote this down going into the Dan Time notes here. Now, this is not important. This is usually pretty random stuff and pretty good chance that it falls flat. But this is your April episode, all right? Recording here on the 26th. So I got to throw something at you. When you're in a big box store, let's just say Walmart, Costco, there's a lot of people there. And you went on that day where you know everybody just got paid, or it's Sunday afternoon, and you realize, why didn't I come here 2 days ago when the parking lot was half full? But here you are, and you're bumping into people. You're having to say, excuse me. What is your go-to when do you just say nothing? Do you quietly say, oh, excuse me, hey, excuse me? What is your go-to when you have to verbally communicate an apology? You almost run over somebody, or you've cut somebody off with your cart, and you know they got the right of way. You just maybe say, oh, sorry, excuse me. Or have you ever just wanted, and maybe somebody, well, you've got a friend that would put you up to this for a few bucks. instead of that quiet, meek, I'm not trying to, hey, excuse me, please forgive me being right here in your way. I'll get out as soon as I can. Have you ever wanted to just say, excuse me, at an unreasonably loud pitch, and then keep walking? I would not want to do that, but if the price was right, I would do it. Oops, sorry. No, you're good. Jim Powell and I, if I'm not mistaken, on episode number 1, I think this is the very first episode on this podcast, we talked about that. Speaking of not, or being in the right of way or someone else's right of way, not yielding properly, this might be where I lose some of you guys and you go over to another episode, another podcast. But if you got cats or you have a cat, has anybody figured out why these people do not and will not and apparently cannot yield? You're walking through your house. You're trying to get from one room to the kitchen, to the laundry room, wherever, trying to get out the front door and get on your way. And they've found themselves a step or two in front of you. They never, ever stop and let you go by. Instead, they kick it up a notch and try to outpace you. And if you're long and lanky like me, that's not going to happen. And they always end up going, no matter where the path takes them or where you're planning to walk, they go every bit exactly the same way that you're going. And they're at that hurried pace, that hurried cat gallop. But they won't just step aside and let you get past them. I've never seen it. This is probably something I could Google, or it's probably something where those cat magazines, everything you want to learn about a cat's mind that's sitting there at a checkout at Target or something. We've all seen those cat magazines. The answer is probably in there. There's a lot of things about felines that frustrate me, concern me, and bewilder me. And that's one of them. But I still try to treat them just like any other human being. They're a member of the household. They deserve to be cared for. You certainly can't give them enough plush, cozy, soft and fluffy places to sit and nap and do absolutely nothing. And if you have a white cat, like I do, and have had for the past 12 going on 13 years, you better have a couple lint rollers on hand at all times, in the house, in the car. And that goes for all your ball caps, all your navy pants, black shirts, trying to go out for a nice dinner. And, get that black shirt out of the closet and do not put it on and don't sit on anything until you leave the house. Unless you want to lint roll yourself. Okay, moving along. Mailers. It's that time of year, time of the cycle again. And let me let me throw out a disclaimer here. This show never has been and never will be political. I don't endorse candidates. I mean, maybe over 108 episodes, if a guest has made a comment, I maybe laughed along with them or said something very, very vague and incomplete about somebody in politics, but I try not to go there. But the mailers, I got to ask you guys, wherever you live and whoever you tend to support, when you get these political mailers and it's sent by a political action committee, and there they are. They look fantastic. They're supporting everything in your community that matters to you. They're keeping you safe. No one's been stronger on crime. No one's protected the community better. No one has worked more closely with the other leaders. And there's 4 or 5 bullet points. Do you get this thing in your mailbox and you look at it and you just walk back to the house glowing and you're appreciative and you're thinking, man, can't wait to vote for this guy, to reelect this guy, because he's got my back and he's gonna shake things up? Or do you just have no reaction and you still go and vote? And you might vote for him or her, but you're not wowed by what they're trying to sell you. You know, a lot of money is spent on this stuff. And, you know, the political climate is just red hot right now. I just wonder how people feel in the spring of 2026 in the United States. Are you checking in more to politics? Are you checking out a little bit more these local candidates and incumbents? Are you pleased with them? Do you have like your guy and you want to keep him there in the Senate, in the state house? I'm just really curious, and of course I have my stance as well, but I think some of these mailers, and I'll give you a little something here. For me, if you're above a certain age and you've been through a few election cycles, some of this stuff gets a bit cartoonish. Especially when someone says, send me to Washington so I can go shake things up. Well, nobody goes and shakes anything up anymore individually. I mean, you might have like 1 or 2 or 3, but it's certainly not a freshman senator or House member. And I've got someone knocking on the door here. Who is that?
Wyatt.
Wyatt, what have you been doing? Who's that?
Vivian. Hi. How you doing? Great.
I told you it was only a matter of time before my kids got on this episode, which is only designed to be about 20 minutes. All right, I'm going to wrap this up pretty quickly here. Out of the senses, out of your 5 senses, what is that? Which are sight, hearing, smell, taste, and touch. Which one, I'm sure you've been asked this before or you've heard it, if you had to give up all of them except one, what would it be? If you follow me on social media, this is at DanTimePod, Instagram, Facebook. I think Facebook, just look up Dan Time Podcast. Comment if you see a post with this question. I've thought about this, and you kind of immediately think, well, I guess I'd keep sight. You'd have sight with no smell, no hearing, no touch. I've got my answer. I'm set on my answer, but I'm not going to reveal it here. So just give that some thought. If you could only have one. Another one, this is a question. Some of these are questions that I kind of have set to ask somebody like Jim or a guest who enjoys this sort of back and forth. But sitting in a restaurant, you go check out a new place and you sit down and it just sounds like you're at your house. Sounds like you could be in your kitchen. There's no music playing. The lighting is pretty poor, but you're having a meal. You're having some conversation. Are you okay with that? Will you go back to a restaurant where the food is pretty decent? It's pretty solid. And yeah, you could get it to go, but would you go back if you had an experience where the lighting is poor to non-existent, or it's just fluorescent, bright, and there's no music playing, and everybody, you can hear everybody's conversation crystal clear, and you're quite positive they can hear everything that you and your lunch or dinner guests are saying. I can't stand it. I can't handle it, won't do it, and will never go back. Just a little less forgiving on that end of all the things that I could imagine would go into opening a new restaurant. acoustics is just paramount to a good experience there. Kind of goes back to Dollar General. I don't understand and everything they're trying to provide for you. And a lot of it comes at a value. Why is there no music playing unless the local crew has figured out a way to either play a radio or they've retrofitted the store because they've had enough. They got to hear something as well. They're going nuts in there with the silence. Why don't they just play some adult contemporary something? Got a couple things here. I don't know if I'm going to get to both of them, but I'm going to finish on this one. All right. Well, first, I'll throw this one in here. That question, when you're checking out, when you've bought some products, some food, or usually it's like at a mom and pop type place. What else for you? Oh, that's it. That's it. All right. And then they totally up. What else for you? Not, is that all? I finally figured out in my 40s the reasoning behind what else for you. Because you can't say yes or no. It's an open-ended question, and it's intended to drive additional sales. I finally figured that out. And they usually ask it in a really, really neighborly, friendly way. So you almost want to buy something else. I kind of like it. All right, finally here, youth baseball coaches. Now, my oldest son, all three of them playing sports. I really, really love the group of guys that are coaching my oldest son. They just do pretty much everything right, as far as I'm concerned. But hanging around the ballpark and zigzagging from field to field, you hear stuff, and I volunteer with one of my kids as an assistant. She's got too much going on to be a head coach right now, again, but maybe in the future. But I know everybody who gets into coaching is not drawn up the same way. You've got lead by example types. I mean, if you're going to be a head coach, you have to be vocal. Or if you're not vocal enough, then get one of your assistants who's just chomping at the bit to take over most of those practice duties and just be heard and bark the directives. You have to bark a little bit. You do. What I don't understand, and I couldn't tolerate it if I saw it with one of my kids and one of their coaches, wouldn't say something in the middle of the game. But the pattern of intense screaming, the pattern of high intensity screaming, berating, throwing the hat on the ground, throwing a tantrum, and on top of that, going an entire practice, an entire game with no smiles to be had, no jokes to be seen, no jokes to be heard amongst even the coaches or certainly coach to player, or fostering an environment where the players feel like they could cut up with each other. Can't handle it. Don't like it. And I got to say, I don't see this in our park as a major, major problem. But I have seen one or two coaches, and I've tried to observe instead of just react. Luckily, like I said, none of them directly coach my children. But one of my children's teams has played against a team, and this is, we're not 12U. We're not even 10U. This is 8U, 6U. Well, I'll just go ahead and say this is T-ball. T-ball. And it's being coached like this is D1 baseball. There's some kids on the field, whether on that team or on our team, who are not yet in elementary school. Okay, 4-year-olds, 5-year-olds, are not close to being 6 yet. Can't read yet. and being subjected to this type of coaching. Fortunately, we just played this team one time that I was a part of. You see stuff in these settings that everybody knows this is a little out of line here. And then you see that particular coach kind of taking advantage of the social construct. I don't know if that's the way you would put it. Where you kind of know, hey, I'm probably not going to get called out on this, because whoever's going to say something now has to draw attention to us. They got to make a scene somewhat. So I watched this coach, and I'm just thinking he's just been allowed to run wild this whole season because nobody, not even on his staff, wants to say anything. And I've met him. I coached against him, I think, last fall. It's just kind of shown a different side. But I'm just curious that the experience that any of my listeners have had, whether playing baseball themselves, playing for a coach who is joyless, humorless, and borderline or across the line just mean. What you thought of it? Is it effective? Because I've listened to, the new Cubs podcast with Anthony Rizzo, David Ross, and they've had Chris Bryant on the show. They've had Kyle Schwarber. And these guys are all talking about the coaches that they've had, the dads that they've had. I probably could go on and on about dads, too. Who knows what's being said in vehicles on the ride home with kids who are going 0 for 3, 0 for 4, or dropping balls. But big leaguers are saying, I didn't go through that. My dad didn't ride me that hard, because I've seen it with parents from the stands also. Anyway, a big deal is made out of this. You'll see stuff online. I'm not seeing it completely out of control, but I'm here to say it does exist, and it probably exists at every park. And I think that some of these personality types, they know it, they're in touch with it, and they just can't do enough about it to tamp it down, to just bring the temperature down, take a little bit different approach. I don't know if it's their ego won't let them do it, or the experience they had growing up. They're repeating the cycle. They think this is what you're supposed to do. And I'm just a firm believer. Sports, for example, if you've got a kid playing sports and he likes it or she likes it and they're good at it, keep building that confidence. Allow them to develop some swagger. They don't have to be full on cocky and just full of themselves, but swagger is okay. Confidence is mandatory, and protect that at all costs. Doesn't mean they can't hear negative criticism, but at the 6-year-old level, on up to 10, 11, 12, you just don't want to create an environment that causes some of these kids, some of these talented kids, to lose interest in playing, and it happens. So if you're listening, if you've seen this, or sorry to say, if you've done this yourself, you're a coach, and this is that you do this, just give it some thought. All right. A lot of these coaches who are way over the top, they know the game. They know baseball very well. And maybe they've coached at a really high level, played at a really high level, and they just not sure how to approach it differently when you're dealing with preschoolers and kindergartners. All right, getting a little heavy there at the end. Maybe you didn't make it this far, and it's just me talking. But thanks for listening to the show. I always forget to put in a call to action. I'd appreciate a star rating. Could be a 4, could be a 5, could be a 2. Leave me a rating. Leave a comment if you'd like, but you don't have to do that. Star rating's just a quick tap. Recommend the show to a friend. And if you're on social media sometimes or constantly, if you're on there constantly and you're not following the Dan Time Podcast, we need to talk. So go to @DanTimePod. I'm not everywhere. I'm not on TikTok, but I'm on YouTube, Instagram, Facebook, and Follow me on Substack. The link is in the show notes. If you got a question, comment, or you have a guest that you think would be a great fit for Dan Time, send me a message, dantimepod@gmail.com. Hope you have a great rest of the week, and I'll see you in May. It won't be next Sunday, and it may be 3 weeks from now, but you'll have a May episode. Actually, I know you will. I can't reveal who it is, but a very special Dan Time guest coming up. Take care of yourselves and take care of each other. Thanks for listening to the Dan Time Podcast.